an effort to avoid the hot button topics and keep to themselves and keep quiet. And I do get that. Not only the value of my privacy, also the value of minding my own business and keeping to myself, right? In this video, this long-winded video, if you make it through it, I'm going to touch on not my opinion, but rather my viewpoint with so many of you that are watching. I'm doing my best to keep it objective, which can be ungodly difficult, especially on a subject as sensitive as this. When it really comes down to solving the problems of corruption, injustice, and everything in between, if our aggressors are making it about race, the most dangerous thing we can do is make it about race. Speaking on it, I want to do my best to be as respectful as I can, not only to the family, but also to the police force and to everyone involved. Because this bias and back and forth and confusion is the biggest reason everyone here seems to be at war when it comes to this fight for justice and people that are losing their lives. This young boy lost his life and almost no one is talking about it. And this young man who passed away, who was essentially killed by a police officer, George Floyd, he was a hardened criminal. And I do find it particularly interesting that not only the mass media, but the public as well, made him their pinnacle, made him the centerpiece. Convenience, opportunity for everyone to look for a war. The piece that is perplexing and seems to be causing a lot of confusion for all sides is where we are focusing much more on a point of opportunity for war as opposed to an opportunity for peace. And equality is found in peace. It's not found in war, because part of the tactics of war is deception, and to deceive is to find inequality and then to put pressure points upon that inequality and then create indifference to true equality, but rather fight towards having a cause to fight for instead of a particular human being. And sometimes when we find one particular name to stick to, especially if that name is one of conspiracy and confusion, it gives way to so many agendas, whether it's through looting, whether it is through keeping the public focused on one particular issue while ignoring other things. George Floyd becomes a perfect scapegoat for a lot of people, not just the general public and not just the Black Lives Matter movement. Regardless of the backlash that comes from saying this, when we make the fight about race, even if it is racial, we are missing all of the corruption under the surface. There's a lot of ill-seated behavior and a lot of poor treatment that comes to all colors, races, sizes. And right now, it's Black lives. That matters very much. It really does. What I'm advocating for is that while we advocate for Black lives, we also continue to keep our eyes below the surface and keep our eyes on the issues that go below racism, that are even dirtier than racism. And there are problems far dirtier than racism, and racism is a dirty problem. Very dirty, very ignorant problem. That's also the point I'm making. Racism is a problem of ignorance. And racism is such a surface issue, meaning that for someone to be racist, they must be extenuatingly ignorant. They must be very aberrant and unintelligent to be racist. Because to be racist, when we, as a species, we know, right? Human beings, we all know that our skin color is one of the smallest, most fractional pieces of our existence. As we continue to advocate for equality, it's very important that we continue to pay attention to the issues that are being covered up by focusing on racism. It's a dangerous subject for a white guy to talk about right now in America. I talk about it because I care about all lives. Right now, the focus is on Black lives. I'm on board with that. In order to truly eradicate this problem, that it does not come up again, because in our entire American history and history before America, okay, it's not like racism against African Americans and people of dark color is new. It's very old. If we're truly going to solve it once and for all, we have to not only defeat racism, but we don't stop there. Once that equality exists, we look beyond the surfaces and to see what corruptions are being covered up, and using racism as a scapegoat to keep your eyes off the prize. There will be a million voices that will tell you, tell me what we should and shouldn't do about it. We don't all have to be physically active in this movement. Regardless, whoever wants to tell you what, it is your life. And whatever movement it is, there will always be people who are radical and over the top and telling you, you have to do this right now. And you have to do it this way. We all have particular skills. Bring to the table what skills you have and seek out justice through peace as opposed to justice through war. Because when we're fighting and hurting one another, it becomes an unwinnable battle. Revenge, right, is if we want justice, that comes through peace. Revenge will not create that. Whether you watch a movie, read a book, or listen to your ancestors, listen to it. Listen to the elderly folk. They'll tell you about war, and they'll tell you what it's worth and what it's not. It depends on what you're fighting for and how you're fighting for it. So keep that truth in your heart, and we'll stay on track. Thanks for listening.